Welcome to the deep dive. You know how we do it. We take the research and the notes you send our way, and we get right to the good stuff, the insights that make you feel instantly informed.
And today, wow, we are diving into a source that I think immediately gets the title for most fascinating submission of the month.
Really?
You sent us excerpts from something called Celestial Panic, Star Signs and Survival.
I just love that title. It's so dramatic, right? It mashes together two things, astrology and, well, total societal collapse, that you really don't expect to see in the same sentence.
Exactly. And the subheading lays it all out for us. It says, Zodiac signs in apocalypse mode. Who's panicking
Yep.
and who's taking charge?
Okay.
So our mission here is to just, treat this as a text, unpack its logic, and really figure out what it's claiming about human nature under extreme stress.
And to be clear, we're not here to validate the astronomy or even the psychology, really. We're just exploring the sheer audacity of the premise.
Yeah.
This source is claiming that under the most extreme stress imaginable, what it calls apocalypse mode,
Yeah.
your star sign basically predetermines your reaction. It just overrides everything else.
It's asking a pretty profound question, isn't it? Does your cosmic alignment, program your primal response, fight, flight, or leadership? And the source claims it has the answers, broken down sign by sign.
Okay, so let's start with the title itself. Celestial Panic. What does that even imply? It's not just regular fear.
No, it suggests a kind of determinism, that the ability to cope isn't just a skill, it's something that is fundamentally missing in certain people because of their cosmic programming.
It's an inherent flaw.
It is. It connects those stable personality traits, the ones you read in a daily horoscope.
Right, like being sensitive or indecisive.
Exactly. And it argues those traits don't just get worse under pressure. They become your defining and, in some cases, destructive weakness.
So the instability is part of the person, not just the situation. Usually we talk about environmental triggers for trauma.
Yeah.
But here, the response is mapped out at birth.
And the source gets specific. It uses astrological language to back this up. It claims the elemental composition of your sign dictates the quality of your panic or your leadership.
Oh, interesting.
For instance, it argues that signs with a fixed modality, which normally means stability, even stubbornness, will either rigidly stick to a useful task or they'll rigidly stick to a state of complete paralysis. There's no in-between.
So it's using the building blocks of astrology not for, say, relationship advice, but for predicting systemic failure.
Precisely. If you're an air sign, your intellectual side is great for a debate. But when the lights go out, the source argues that same tendency leads straight to catastrophic overanalysis.
You think yourself into a corner.
You do. This is no longer guidance. It's basically an operational manual for building a survival team.
Which brings us to the real core of this, the dichotomy of survival roles. It's so brutally efficient. You're either panicking or you're taking charge.
It's a very clear binary opposition. The material suggests that in a total collapse, you just don't have time for ambiguity. You have to categorize people immediately, asset or liability.
Okay, so let's break down the taking charge group first. According to Celestial Panic, who are the leaders? Who keeps things running?
Well, the material overwhelmingly favors the fire and earth signs for this role, but for very different reasons.
Okay,
The fire signs, that's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, they're classed as the immediate decisive leaders, the first responders.
so Aries the initiator. Their impulsiveness is actually a good thing here.
It's rebranded as essential decisiveness, yes. The source says an Aries will be the first one to, secure the perimeter or start a foraging run. Their default setting is just action, even if it's a bit reckless.
And Leo, the authority figure.
Leo naturally steps in to create a chain of command. The document says their ego is still there, of course, but now it's channeled into protecting their pride, which is the survival group.
That makes sense. But what about Sagittarius? They're more like adventurers or philosophers.
And surprisingly, they're in this group too. Not as a commander, but as the morale and strategy guide. They're the ones who keep an eye on the big picture, the long-term plan. They channel their restlessness into scouting and resource discovery.
So that's the fire element.
Yeah.
Action and direction. What about the earth signs? How do they take charge?
They're the other half of the leadership coin. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, they're all about infrastructure and logistics.
The practical heart of the whole operation.
Absolutely. The source argues Taurus being the sign of persistence and, well, materialism, becomes the perfect quartermaster. They get obsessed with allocating resources, with security, with building stable shelter.
So their tendency to hoard becomes a group benefit.
For the group, yes.
Then-
And then you have Capricorn, the ultimate structuralist. They're the ones setting up rules, schedules, accountability. The apocalypse is just the ultimate business challenge for them.
And Virgo.
Virgo manages the details. Their fussiness becomes an essential obsession with sanitation, organizing supplies, basic medical care. The group's highly efficient, probably very stressed out administrator.
So you have two leadership types here. The fire signs are the directive, boots-on-the-ground leaders.
And the earth signs are the logistical foundational leaders.
Yeah.
According to celestial panic, they are the bedrock of survival.
But this raises a huge question for me. What about actual training or experience? I mean, a trained paramedic could be a sensitive water sign, but this framework just writes them off as prone to collapse.
And that's the material's single biggest claim. It argues that the cosmic programming is more fundamental than any behavioral conditioning.
So your training is just a thin veneer.
Exactly. In apocalypse mode, it argues that veneer gets stripped away instantly and you're left with your core celestial vulnerability, which is a perfect transition to the second group, the panicking category.
Okay, so tell us who the source says is slated for failure. The ones who are supposedly overcome by chaos and fear.
This group is almost entirely made up of the water and air signs, because their primary drivers, emotion and intellect, are framed as liabilities when what you need is primal instinct.
Let's start with water then. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Their emotional depth is seen as a fatal flaw.
A fatal flaw. The source argues that when they're faced with that much suffering, the emotional sponge that is a water sign just gets saturated and breaks.
So Cancer, the nurturer.
Collapses. When they can't protect their family, their whole world spirals into anxiety. They become prone to emotional hoarding or getting irrationally attached to useless sentimental items.
What about Scorpio? They're usually seen as pretty tough.
Their strength is control. But the source says when control is impossible, like in an apocalypse, their intensity turns inward. They get paranoid, suspicious of the group. A deep, destructive cynicism takes over that just kills morale.
They become an internal threat.
Exactly, an internal liability. And then you have poor Pisces,
The empathetic dreamer.
who experiences the world's suffering like it's their own, but multiplied. The document suggests they are the most likely to just retreat into emotional catatonia, avoidance, any kind of escape they can find.
That's the emotional breakdown. But then we have the air signs Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And they panic for a totally different reason. Intellectual paralysis. That's a fascinating idea.
It is, isn't it? Air signs need information. They need social harmony. But in this context, the source says their need for rational consensus becomes a lethal problem.
So Gemini, the communicator, gets overwhelmed by too many variables.
Too much information, not enough action. They can't pick a path, and that hesitation is fatal. They're the person running around trying to get updates instead of, gathering clean water.
And Libra, who needs balance and fairness.
They panic because the whole premise of the apocalypse is chaos and imbalance. The source claims they'll waste time and resources trying to mediate pointless fights or establish a fair system that just can't exist anymore.
What about Aquarius, the innovator?
Aquarius becomes intellectually stranded. Their big ideas about future societies are totally irrelevant when the problem is finding your next meal. They get frustrated, alienated, and are prone to just giving up because reality isn't living up to their ideals.
So if we look at the whole framework, it's not just about leadership. It's about the mechanism of failure.
That's the key. Water signs fail through emotional overload. Air signs fail through intellectual stall. It's this clean, structural division that gives the source its sense of authority. It's a predictable map of who breaks first and how.
Okay, let's pivot back to the context for a second. Apocalypse mode. Why that specific extreme scenario? Why not just a big earthquake or a war?
Because that extreme context, no laws, no resources, pure instinct, is the only way to test the source's central claim, that astrology is a deep, unchangeable survival program.
Right. A normal disaster still has some structure left. Emergency services, a chain of command. You can still use your learned coping skills.
But apocalypse mode means all of that is gone. It's the ultimate control variable. If a Virgo keeps things clean when the garbage is still being collected, that's just psychology.
Sure.
But if they're still trying to maintain sanitation with a rusty can and river water, well, according to this source, that's their inherent earth sign programming. The collapse of society is the proving ground.
It's arguing that your sign is your ultimate truth, a blueprint for who you will be when everything falls apart, no matter who you tried to be before.
Which brings us to the purpose of a document like this. It's not just for fun. It's designed to be a ruthless, tactical guide.
It promises predictive knowledge. You don't need to observe someone for weeks to see if they're reliable.
You just need their birth date. The sign is a shortcut for a personnel evaluation. It lets you do an immediate risk assessment.
So it's literally suggesting you should build a survival team based on a balanced zodiac chart.
That's the implication. Make sure you have enough logistical earth signs, enough directive fire signs, and, well, maybe try to minimize the number of signs it says are programmed to collapse.
It's astrology as a strategic tool.
It's an attempt to remove all the guesswork from a situation that is nothing but guesswork, and that promise of clarity is incredibly appealing.
So let's bring this all together. We've looked at the pretty audacious claims of celestial panic, a source arguing that the stars have already decided if you're an asset or a liability when the world ends.
And the power of that idea, linking this cosmic map to our deepest, darkest survival instincts, it's genuinely compelling. It forces you to ask, if our behavior in that ultimate crisis is dictated by a map set at birth, how much real control do we have?
It suggests that all our skills, our training, our morals, it's just a thin civilian veneer. And the apocalypse, along with our birth chart, will just burn it right off.
The document implies that when that final test comes, you don't choose your role. Your role, assigned by the heavens, chooses you.
Which leaves us with a final, provocative thought for you to chew on. If star signs really do dictate who manages logistics effectively and who is paralyzed by fear, should pre-disaster planning for, say, major governments or even deep space missions include mandatory astrological vetting?
A fascinating thought. Maybe the key to survival isn't just canned goods, but a perfectly balanced zodiac chart. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.